Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Devil's Advocate Trades Edition. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Lisa. Or afternoon.
Listen.
No one has to know what
Don't
we're
tell.
doing after this.
All right. Michael's kicking us off. Let's go.
Yeah, so Mark Carney's announced that they're going to be rolling out working with the provinces to create digital IDs for trades. The aim allegedly is to ease mobility between provinces when you're doing different jobs. So using the Canada login. But just doing some digging, there's actually already some apps on the App Store and have been there for like 6 months. So it's just kind of interesting when they already said, no, we're not doing digital IDs, which was only 3 months ago. And now they are for spring 2027. So it's just kind of an interesting topic as to how that's going to work.
So I did notice that. I did notice that he said one thing in January and then another a few months later, like July or whatever the fuck it was.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think it was October and then January. It was a few months in between where he said one thing and then redacted and said a complete other. Okay, so let's talk about, because you've done the research on this and this is your kind of shtick. So my questions to you for those that are listening would be, what do we need to be aware of? Pros and cons. Do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing? And that is 100% opinion based for you.
Well, I think one of the things to really kind of dig into is, we know digital IDs do exist. It exists in some countries. Some are tied to a social credit system. Some are tied to your ability to work, access to internet. And there's a lot of other laws that are coming out in Canada that do actually have those provisos. So my concern is, say, for example, in Ontario, if you get a red seal trade, you can just go to the portal, log in, and it's right there. So what I think the simple solution would be, just amalgamate all the provinces to be the same access point, right? And just create a QR code. Like, you want to vet yourself? Perfect. Here's a QR code. It shows me, it shows my information. It's done. And it's just for the purpose of employers. And employers can sign up for it. And that's it. It doesn't have to be why jump the shark and go straight to the employee with all that level of tracking, where some of it is actually going to be tied to, you could use your bank as a login, which seems a little shady to me.
I didn't know that. So, okay. I hear what you're saying, and it makes sense to do it kind of a national rollout and to have employers and employees be part of it, because then you kind of know who's who. And then employers, for me, when anything's people driven, I always get a little bit skeptical in some ways. I'm not saying that robots should do it, but there's really never a bias somewhere. So I might have glowing things to say about you, but I could ask somebody else a question and they would have nothing nice to say about you. But it doesn't speak to your skill, and people are so overwhelmed with their own emotions and their experience that they forget to acknowledge the skill part of it. So if somebody, like, I'll give you an example. There's a guy that I worked with. He's a complete asshole. Okay. He fucked me out of $23,000 in my business. And as far as I'm concerned, from a personal perspective, I have no use for this individual. But when people ask me about him, I never say anything bad, in the sense of, if you're asking me on skill, I will 100% respond accordingly. If you ask me on personal, I'll say no comment, because I'm not going to run around and talk shit about somebody to the industry. What I will talk shit within, as in honest. So if I've got good rapport with certain owners or certain businesses and they say, can you tell me about this? I might give them snippets, right? But when it comes to the person's skill and capability, I would never lie. Great person, easy to talk to, has an impeccable amount of skill, knowledge, understanding of this, and this. 100% I would recommend them if this is what you're going for. Their personality has nothing to do with their skill, has to do with their attitude, has to do with their character.
Yep.
So that's all this is. That's where I get nervous when I'm like involving employers and employees, right? Because the employee is looking for a good review. If you're an employee that's late all the time, well, are they going to say, well, I don't know, I have no comment, but it's just that you're late all the time. It doesn't speak to your skill.
That's all the digital ID is. Digital ID is just, hey, I've got my license to do X, Y, Z. That's all it is.
Okay.
It's not tracking.
So nobody can comment.
Yep.
Okay. No comments. So it basically is just an ID that says, I can do this.
Yep. So it's a digital diploma because apparently it's so hard to take a picture and send it because no one knows technology to be able to take a picture and send something. But the verification process, okay, well then amalgamate the Red Seal traits across provinces. And it doesn't have to be this digital ID with all this. I assume it's going to come with track and trace on it because it's going to be on your phone, right? And the question is will you be penalized as an employee for not having it? Right. So, oh, well,
100%.
it's harder to look up the information for this person. So I'm not going to look them up at all because I actually have to do some legwork to get my employees, thus taking you out of the system. What about people who live in areas that don't have good internet connections or choose to use a flip phone instead of a smartphone?
So I'll tell you where I see the pros and cons in this. Okay. I think the pros and cons in this are pro. People now have it registered somewhere of what their skilled trade is and their education. So it can't be argued. Okay. That's one. That's pro.
Hmm?
The con in this is all of the older trades. So when I say older, I mean us. We're older.
Hmm?
A lot of people between the ages of 40 plus, not all, but a lot in 40 plus, want nothing to do with the government knowing anything about them. If they really want something, ask me, but I don't feel that the need to have to give you something to prove who I am. I know what I've got. If my employer requires it, that's between me and them, not between me and you. That is something that I have seen a lot in Alberta, that it is none of your fucking business. If you
Right.
want to know what I do, ask me. But to make it mandatory, it's gonna put a lot of noses in the air.
One, I think, and it opens up the door to, the federal and provincial debate about digital IDs for other workplaces, right? And then digital IDs for social systems and digital IDs for your driver's license and digital
Mhm,
and digital and digital, where we were always told that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But going into the trades, I mean, it represents around 2 million people across Canada. That's a
mhm,
lot of people
mhm.
that this could potentially affect.
Well,
Or I don't know. I don't know how this is going to weigh out, but I think it's a slippery slope that a lot of people have concerns when it comes to privacy. Number one.
yeah.
Number two is control mechanisms,
Mhm,
right? So, hey, if you don't comply, we just wipe out your digital ID. So Vietnam, was it Vietnam? I think it was Vietnam is a great case where they had saw that digital ID rollout, and if you didn't do it, they just debanked you, so your bank accounts were just deleted,
whew,
right? So like these are things to have real concerns about when you make everything digital, right? You're giving it away a lot of control rather than what. I like the diploma on the wall. I like that kind of stuff. I like that paper copy. I like having my physical ID.
yeah.
And I don't trust me personally. I don't trust the government enough. Like, because they're one of the things they talked about on for the Canada login portal is, well, instead of having to access it through different logins and different emails and passwords and stuff like that, oh no, you have to remember passwords like, I don't know, our 18 different social medias we use. It's not hard, right?
Yeah.
But if there's a data leak, one password gives you access to everything. So why would you shrink it all down to a single point of access? We're
Mhm,
actually having multiple points of access from a security standpoint, I believe is better.
agreed. So I'll tell you where, like, this is kind of like how they're, amalgamating all of our IDs in Alberta, okay? So they're putting our healthcare and our passport numbers on our IDs is what they're moving towards. Right now, I've only really heard about just the medical. Okay, your healthcare number. I'm going to tell you why I'm so fucking opposed to this. Because if you lose your ID, your biggest concern was that somebody knew where you fucking lived.
Right.
You lose that ID, and it can be lost for many reasons. It just fell out of your purse. You put something down, someone stole it, someone broke in somewhere and stole whatever. You lose that ID, you are now calling every single aspect in your life so that someone doesn't steal your identity. You've just made it easy to steal your identity off one piece of plastic.
Right.
Identity theft is something that has happened for a long time. Why do we keep making it easier for people? So people who work their
I
whole
don't
lives, have impeccable credit, have money in the bank, have mortgages paid off, all of a sudden a year goes by because they lost their license one day and they let everyone know and everything, but then it doesn't negate the fact that now somebody's out there in another country or in another province racking it up, pretending to be them. And then how do they fix that? From what I understand, in a lot of identity cases, you don't get that back. You don't get that super figured out. It's like, well, you got to pay it. Sorry, meh, fuck you. You might have an insurance that might cover portions, but it doesn't negate
Yep.
the fact that you've just worked your whole life to watch one person completely destroy it because once upon a time you fucking left your license at a bar or someone stole your license.
Yep.
I'm not a fan of that. So when I talk about digital IDs, I get very fucking nervous about digital. There's so many things being digitized already, like my medical records, this, that, and the other thing. I can go in and access my medical records at any time.
Right.
So that's the other part of it, because now there's the Alberta ID. So they want you all to be on an Alberta ID. What happens when you're not on Alberta ID? What happens when I say no to the license? Does that mean I
Right.
don't get to drive anymore? You know what I mean? Like, does that mean that I now lose access to a whole bunch of different things because I don't want to comply with your stupid ass government rules?
That's
With
what's
your
coming in. I mean,
controlling
that's what's
tactic?
happening in other countries right now, right? And they're like, yeah, you don't have to comply, and you can't drive, and you can't bank, and you can't work, and you can't do
But
this, and you can't do
right, but
that.
that's my point, Michael. We
Yeah.
live in Canada. People who live in North America, it's supposed to be, they preach inside of our own national anthems of freedom. I don't see anything fucking free about what you guys are doing.
No, I did. The
Doesn't
government
sound
is
very free to me. Doesn't sound
no.
like freedom of speech. Doesn't sound like freedom of fucking anything. It sounds like we want to know everything. So at any point in time, we can fucking threaten you to shut the fuck up and do what you're told because we have all the things on you that we need. That's what that sounds like. That sounds like backing some, having enough ammunition to back somebody into corner, whether you're in a trades ID, whether you're in a medical ID, whether you're putting new licenses. It sounds like you are taking control of that person and their livelihood in one way, shape, or form, so that you can back them into a corner at any point you want. And
Well,
I
can we
don't,
say they? Can we
I'm
say they?
hard
So it doesn't
pressed.
sound like I'm not doing this. They are doing
I'm just saying,
this.
I'm hard pressed to believe that, oh God, I know you're on the same page with me. Like
Yeah.
you're always conflicted. When it comes to digital, you're like, yes. When it comes to taking over freedoms and control, you're like, fuck you.
No.
You've always been like that. You don't like control and freedoms. You like easier access. You like people to be able to do things that make more sense, that there's a, work smarter, not harder. That's kind of your motto. But
Yep.
when it starts to infringe on freedoms and privacy, you're very like, fuck you. So I don't think
I
you're
like free
necessarily on
enterprise
the
to
other
do it.
side of this than me.
I like personal and free enterprise to do it because it's a choice to do it.
Yeah.
Rather than a mandate or a law or something else like that. And there is a difference between a mandate and a law. So, like if you get mandated to do it, doesn't mean you have to do it. A mandate requires a mandatee and a mandator. So an acceptance of it. So if it's a mandate, you do not have to do it. But will you lose capabilities because you chose not to do it? Possibly. So, but doing research on this is I was really concerned because there's a bunch of different things. You have like GC Wallet, you have GC Verify, you have browser logins, you have phone apps, you have Canada Login, you have a GC Key and other identity providers. You have credential issuers websites that you can go log into. Then you have the provincial registries. Then you have the employer software. And I mean, the amount of potential to open this up and have issues by making it a single access point just seems so absolutely crazy to me. Right? I
I
mean,
agree.
like if say for example, for trades, perfect example, it's a diploma. It's a diploma you can have on your wall, take a picture and send it. If the employer wants to check into it, it's their due diligence to check into it. Pushing it to the employee that's going to be probably on your phone and it's going to have location-based services required, right? I guarantee I would put money on it that is going to have location-based services required, which means they know where you are at all times. That's not something I want to share. That's not something I want to share with my friends, let alone the government. And it's not to hide anything because people are like, what do you got to hide? It's not about hiding something. It's just right to privacy.
I hear you. I'm like, my brain is going into a headspace of, wow, you guys really want to put all this money into a tracking system for trades when you should be putting into a tracking system of pedophiles. Like,
Right. Kind of interesting, right? Yeah.
it is. It is.
Yeah, we don't
It's
have a pedophile registry that you can access and make sure you're moving into a safe neighborhood. We don't have that, but you got to know where all the tradespeople are, especially if they're working interprovincially. What?
right. Stupid.
Right. And the problem is so some softwares, when they do updates and they push updates, firmware updates, hard updates, rules updates, that type of stuff like that, some don't let you know. And I'm worried like usually happens with the government, is something will change and they don't tell you. It just changes and you're expected to know it because ignorance of the law is not an excuse, right? And if it suddenly becomes law that, hey, this is now required, right, which it could eventually be, if not almost immediately,
Hmm.
that I think is silly. It's a
Yeah.
silly control mechanism, especially in a sector where most people love their freedoms. They
Hmm.
love being independent. They love having that freedom of choice and don't like generally government oversight. Right? That's typically when I'm around tradespeople, that's the types of conversations. And now you want to put it in that sector particularly?
Yeah.
Why that particular sector?
It's a great
Why not
question.
all diploma systems?
Hmm. It's a good point.
Why aren't all diplomas just registered with the government? The government hosts it on a website, and if an employer wants to check it, they go in, they put the person's information in and their SIN number. Done. No one needs an app. No one needs anything else. It's just finished.
It just seems like every time I turn around, that's what employers are doing already anyways. It's like they were
Right.
like,
They
"Oh,
are.
we want you to take this phone so we can track you." And it's like, "Fuck off."
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's like where I choose to go is none of your business.
Right.
Off time. So you want to put a GPS in my vehicle, like in the vehicle you're providing with for me, then you get to see what I do during the day and you get to see that I park at home. After
Mm,
that, it's none of your fucking business what I'm doing. And the fact that you want a tracking mechanism on a phone, you better be supplying the phone because the phone's sitting in the fucking truck.
yep.
Like to me it's too invasive, you know? It's just far too invasive these days. It's like everybody just wants to know everything as a controlling mechanism, which is kind of interesting because this is what's kind of creeped up in my life lately is the controlling mechanism.
Yep.
And it's like there is elements of the optics of control and elements of not, and how you maneuver those controlling tactics because you and I talked about trust, right? So I think control is a really great topic to delve into on this side because for me, this topic that you're talking about, we need more information. They're
Yeah,
just popping off right now.
it's really limited. Like Carney's saying, like launching in spring of 2027. That's
Yeah.
not that far away. And the information is so few and far between to find. Like, like when a check is done, is that going to log a bunch of information, right? Like,
Yeah.
is it gonna log the employer, the verifier, date, time, IP address, every time the credentials checked? Can you deny Bluetooth, camera, or other permissions on that app? I don't know.
Hmm.
Are they going to show the third party validation and source code for this actual application? Probably not. And we know how it worked with the COVID track and trace app, right? Like that cluster of wasted money. What was it, $400 million, something crazy? And then another company built it on the weekend with like 3 guys, right? Like, where's that money going to go? Who's it being spent with? Was it bidded on? Where was the vote for this? I don't remember there being a vote for this, right?
Hmm.
It's just all kind of happening. Right. And
Yeah.
it's a big change for it to just happen.
Well, and I think that what you're asking are great questions, right? Because it's like control says you have to change, and us responding want to put boundaries to say things like, well, I won't participate under these conditions, which then comes back to what's the retaliation?
Mhm.
What's the consequences of us saying no?
Yeah.
Is really what it comes down to.
Like we need
We need more clarity around the whole system itself.
Mhm.
Like you said, there's not a lot. There's like little tidbits here and there. They're not really giving you the whole meat and potatoes. And I think where the fear lies for both of us, regardless of the politician in place, because I'm not looking at the politician, I'm looking at what's being put forward
Mhm.
um, from a political standpoint. And I'm saying to myself, are you going to release the information prior to dropping this?
Probably
Because
not.
if you don't, then what you're doing is you are strong arming everybody. Do you know how many trades have been browbeat? These guys are all used to it. So at this point, they're probably going to tell you to fuck off. And there's
Yeah.
probably going to be a lot of them that don't do it. And governments and municipalities and all levels, I should say all levels of government pull this shit where they're like, we're going to do this and you're going to have to do this. And so what comes to my brain right away is who's policing it?
Well, that's where it comes down to, right? So like who's responsible when a compromised verifier device or anything exposes the worker's information, the employer, province, Who is it? The federal government? Is it the province? Is it the employer? Is it the employee? Is it their phone? Who's responsible if there's a data breach? Because if there's a data breach, absolutely. I mean, people should be able to fish for a payout, right? Because now that, what if you're using the same password? Will it be a provided password?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. This is all stupid when you could just have an open database. Just open. I mean, it's no different than if you're a doctor or anything else, right? You get somebody's name, you can look up to see whether or not they're an actual doctor. You can look up to see whether or not they actually have those credentials. You can already do that with Red Seal trades in Ontario. Places like Saskatchewan, a little bit more wishy-washy, but then force Saskatchewan to mimic the other provinces where it's a simple search database.
I'm having a hard time because I know that there's unions out here for welders and I believe electricians and carpentry. Like, I know that there's unions. So could you not just check with the union? I don't know where their PIPA laws stand for that. If they're like, hey, just need to check, is this person a part of this union?
Yeah, I mean, if you're
Because they
doing a
also,
union check, you can just check with the union. But if you're checking for actual credentials, like graduated from college, right, as a Red
but
Seal
you can't be
trader,
part of the union without it.
right? Well, but how's the union vetting it, right? So the whole idea is to make it easy for the hirer and the employee, right, employee employer to meet easier. Where when you graduate or you sign up for your first year, awesome, congratulations, it's your first year apprentice. Here's your QR code. We'll keep it updated on our end. Here's your laminated QR code that you can share with anyone, anytime to prove your credentials, which also means an inspector comes by and you just go here and they go boop and it goes, awesome. There's your picture. You update your picture every 5 years like you do with your driver's license. There's your picture. There's your credentials. Done. So easy. It's so easy. I don't understand what the problem is. All it is just name, photo, and what credentials they have. That's it. Done. You don't need a digital ID. This digital ID, I guarantee you, it is bait for what's going to be happening. And if the adoption rate is reasonable, they'll start rolling it out into other sectors, maybe even nationwide for everything. All employment. Maybe all employment gets done that way. Not just
I'm looking it up.
interprovincial trades.
I'm looking it up. Give me a second.
So it's a slippery.
I'm looking it up for I'm looking it up for Alberta.
Hmm?
Obviously, Alberta Journey Person Certification, interprovincial, Red Seal, or recognized trade credential in Alberta from another Canadian jurisdiction, the military, or specific international union trading program. So so you have to provide your credentials in order to be part of these unions. So the Alberta Journey Person Certification proves completion of the required on-the-job hours and technical training, Red Seal endorsement, interprovincial standard allowing certified trades people to participate across Canada, trades qualifier program, approved out of province union certification. So yeah, because they oversee. So joining or forming a trade union, there's so many hoops you have to get through. It's not just like, oh, I did this and here's my little piece of paper. It's like they check.
Right.
Yeah, they do their due diligence. They vet it. And there are certain documents that have to be provided for vetting.
Right.
Right. So if you're like, oh, I got this diploma somewhere in like a college unknown, they're like, mm-mm. So they have prerequisite colleges and university and trade schools that they acknowledge.
Right.
So if you worked in a trade school that's not listed in an international database that actually has like a rating system for the trades, they don't recognize you.
But this is all trade schools in Canada. It's not international. This
But
is
there are lots
strictly
of
just
trade
for in
schools.
Canada.
Fair, but there's lots of trade schools in Canada that don't have the same recognition because they might not have the same output.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
I'm just saying. There's lots of educational and training schools out there, but if they're not recognized or accredited or certified as an actual trade school, they don't get recognized. So when you go to a union, they're like, "Who's that? I'm going to need to see all your logs. I'm going to need to look into this college allegedly." And maybe they look into the college and it's a good college, but no one's ever come out of it.
Right.
They might deny you. They might get the college to jump through hoops. I don't know. I don't know. But what I'm saying to you is that at the end of the day, there is a process. for you to be part of these unions. And I don't know if I agree with this digital ID. I don't know if I think this is a tabs to keep track of people that are moving through the provinces. I think this is also a bit of an effort to, and I'm just going to throw it out there because it's my opinion, because, there's always a correlation of things. There's a lot of new immigration into Canada, and I think they want to keep tabs of where they're spanning across.
I don't know if that's true.
I do. I think they want to.
What is it, like 300,000? Now, I might get in trouble according to C9 by saying this, the new law, but there's like 300,000 people who didn't show up to their deportation hearings. Do you think they're looking for them? Do you think they're doing anything about it? Nothing I've seen.
Deep down inside, my little liberal heart hopes so.
I don't think so. And while they're on deportation status, they're still receiving everything that they were.
Why are they on deportation status? Let's start there. Do you know?
There could be a million different reasons.
Okay. I want to believe that Canada is not as frivolous to think, well, they're on deportation status. That in itself is important. But what's more important is why. Have they just overstayed their visa? Have they decided that they're going to start working when they shouldn't be? Or are they a fucking criminal? That's what I'm going to pay attention to. If someone worked in Canada when they shouldn't have, nay, you got to go back home. I'm going to tend to kind of be like, man, they got to make a living. They've been here for a while. They wanted to try.
Still a crime.
They tried to fucking sneak through and see if anybody fucking noticed. You know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things where I'm like, is it bad? Sure, it's bad. Am I going to chastise somebody for it?
No, not bad. It's not bad. It's a crime. So you said if they're criminals, they should be gone. That's a crime.
I'm talking about heinous crimes. Are they killing people? Are they raping people? Are they stealing from people? Are they stealing IDs? I don't look at someone working as stealing from people. Maybe I'm crazy.
They are stealing. They're stealing money that otherwise somebody else could have been hired for that position.
Oh my God, so you sound so Caucasian right now.
It's not Caucasian. It's anybody. Look, I'm first generation Canadian.
You're first generation?
Yeah, first generation Canadian.
Yeah, but there's that white privilege where,
White privilege.
I'm like, so on my dad's side, I'm first gen. On my mom's side, who knows? Like, we've been here a long time on my mom's side. So it's like it cancels it out. I'll just say 6.
Right.
My point is, I'm giving you a hard time, but my point in this situation is that you're saying it's a crime. I'm not going to sit here and deny that it's a crime, but to me, there are more heinous crimes out there that are worth searching for these people. I don't believe that they're stealing from us. They're still paying taxes. They're still getting income tax. They're still doing all that, unless they're working under the table. And then it comes back to the same old question of, they're taking jobs from people. Well, if you were out there and had motivation, they would have never been able to get that job.
Wait, if you're not a Canadian citizen, right, and you're here illegally, you can't pay tax. You can't pay income tax. You're only paying sales tax, like whatever you buy and sell, but you're not paying income tax. That could be anywhere between a 20 and a 50% difference on what the government should be receiving. That's a huge amount of money. All while you're still receiving free healthcare, dental, optical. So when they go in for those appointments, shouldn't they be like, hey, boop, boop, red flag here?
Well, yeah, because you have to get a healthcare card.
But they
don't get free healthcare without a healthcare card.
I'm telling you, Lisa, you got to look it up. Somebody comes in here as asylum seeking, even temporary and stuff like that. They get different benefits than we do. And if they overstay their time and they're welcome, or they commit a crime and are supposed to be deported and don't show up, right, because they're given leave, they still receive all those benefits, including the money going into their bank account. It's ridiculous. I don't think it's good for anybody
that more
from
people
any
need to
country
say something to. You're so passionate, Michael.
Well,
they're taking our fucking money.
I just think
they were taking our money the minute they came in on asylum.
Yeah.
So if they've overstayed their welcome and the government hasn't tracked them down and said, hey, it's been swell, but the swelling's gone down, time to go home. They're here on asylum. So can the government even send them back home? Wouldn't we start the process to PR?
I'm not just talking about asylum. There's asylum. We're seeing it now with the protests from people who came over here on an education permit and now they want the right to work. You're like, no, you came here for education. Go back home, reapply to come over here as a citizen. No problem.
Yeah. And I've been through this where I had an employee that went through this. Okay. And I had to tell him to get on a plane and go home so we could sort it out because his work visa had lapsed. And I'd said that to him. I said, go home, we'll call you. Now, he wasn't from any crazy place, in my opinion. It was Europe, but it wasn't anything crazy. And he was really upset because he had made Canada his home for 5 years and we kept renewing his work visa. And this time the government fucking choked us up.
But
and I was like, whatever. And I said, and I remember going to my immigration lawyer and asking him, and I said, hey, bud, what do we do? And he said, right now, because everything's up in the air, he fucking lifts a tool, everybody's fined.
Mm-hmm.
He said, put him on a plane back home right now till we can get this shit sorted out, because it's in him. He's already proven that he's a valuable worker. He's already a foreman. He does this, he does that. He goes above and beyond. He takes pride in his work. There's no fucking way he can sit and wait and do nothing. He's going to try and find cash jobs, and he's going to screw everybody over because he's attached to you guys. And I was like, okay. So I stuck him on a plane, sent him back. 2 months later, I called and said, you can come back to Canada if you wish, because we got it all straightened out. But that's 2 months. And that sucks, because if someone is doing something where the momentum of their life is progressing into a certain situation, but for whatever, lawyers are expensive. We know this. Yeah. And so it's hard to start your process. I don't know how much it is, if I'm being honest. Like, I've had people that have come over from the States, from England, from all different walks of life, but ones that are kind of closer to home in the sense of, like, because States is just to the south of us. And England, we were part of a British colony at one point. You know what I mean? Right. So it's kind of one of those things where I'm always like, why? Like, why do they need to jump through hoops and be called immigrants? But it's like, well, they are from other countries. And I'm like, but are they? Like, we have a land border.
Yeah. Yes. The answer is yes.
I understand, but I'm just saying It's one of those things where I just kind of giggle about it, because it's like that's okay. Maybe it sounds incredibly prejudicial, but for me, I'm like, if you're from the UK or you're from like the Commonwealth or like the States, like, why do they have the same rigmarole? That's kind of my question. I'm not saying it's fair or unfair. I just don't understand. I'm like, to me, it's like,
well, there's a point.
And the only thing I can think of is when the adult comes in the room and says, well, it's like that for everybody or nobody gets it. Do you know what I mean?
That's why the point system, like I was saying, it's the point system. So can you support yourself? Do you have enough finances? Do you have any degrees? Do you have any backgrounds? We used to have a really great system for immigration, and it was fantastic. It worked really, really well. The numbers were on par. There were people coming in. They were, part of Canada, right? Doing, and even living their own way, like even living in their own communities, creating their own community. That's awesome. But when I believe that the numbers are too large for that point system, to the point that even one of the Indian guys was talking about it. And I'm not picking on India. This just happens to be a guy I was watching the other day, where he's one of the international representation. I know I'm brain farting the word. So he's a representative from India. He's a representative from India talking about this. Okay. And he said the point system was really good. Whereas right now, it doesn't make any sense. He was talking about, the educational people coming over, people to come over, get education, and then wanting to work. You're like, you could do that, but you have to leave and come back, right? Yeah. Because you're applying for two different things, or apply to work. I don't know if you could apply to work and education.
I understand, Michael. I understand. I'm just saying, in my brain, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I'm just one of those people that's like, give me a reason not to trust you, and then I won't.
But if you're going to do digital IDs for something, this sounds like a perfect spot to do digital IDs.
Yeah.
So you miss your deportation meeting, all those IDs get shut down. Your bank that's connected to it, shut down. You have no access to anything.
I agree.
I think that's a great system. That seems like a good place to put a digital ID.
100%.
So if you're a politician listening to this, that's where you put it, not on the people who live here, not on the people who just want to work here or paying their taxes, who are building up the country. We need construction workers, and you want to hit the trades the most, the people who want to build all these houses, to fill all these things, data centers, all the things you need, infrastructure.
We don't need data centers.
Well, unfortunately, we do need data centers.
No, we don't.
We too, actually. That could be a conversation for another day, because I have an idea for that.
Okay. Well, we'll wrap up today because we're already at 34 minutes, and we'll go into the next one.
Then.
Okay. You're fantastic. Thanks, everybody, for listening to our tangent back and forth. Michael tries to keep me off my ADHD path, so he's doing well at it. Anywho, Have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll catch you on the flip side, and don't do anything crazy.